there if they signed in that way. So we are good. We are now live streamed and ready to go. We are on a pretty tight time schedule today. We have someone else using this Zoom at 2 o'clock. So I want to make sure and give everyone time to hear all of the important information that we have to share today. And I will alert you that there are several links on many of our screens today, and we will be posting those in the chat for you. If you have questions as we go, please add those to the chat box. Don't unmute yourself and ask. That would make this go a little smoother for everyone. And please, if you've just joined us, make sure your microphones are muted also, so we don't get the background noise. Totally appreciate that. So welcome everyone. It is so exciting to kick off the 2021-2022 On My Way pre-K year. I feel like it's been ages since I've actually talked or seen many of you, but so appreciate your patience and getting us through these last few months of enrollment and welcoming families into your program. So we just are so excited that you're with us today. We are have lots and lots of information to share. I wanted to start off just by saying a big thank you to everyone for all of your hard work and patience, and know that we at the office have been trying to put out as many supports as possible for you as a provider. Though the best source of information is this first link, the FSSA CareFinder website. That's where all the updates are updated as quickly as we can get them up there. We've done some Fastenal grants to give some additional supplies for COVID. Those have closed. We're still doing COVID closure grants, staff background check fees, and hiring stipends. The new stabilization grants have just opened, and many of you I know have already submitted applications for those. First payments actually went into accounts today for those that were approved early. It was just the first few days of those that got approved, and payments got on schedule for today. The next payments will start going in every 2 weeks. So if you have any questions about those, I've put the website here for you to check on that. Also, the help desk at Spark is handling all of our questions behind those stabilization grants. Please don't ask me questions today about those. They are the experts on that, and will be able to answer your questions or get you to the right person for that. So I did want to spend a little bit of time though talking about COVID-19 and the supports that we have available at our office for you to help with that. Nancy Ward is our chief nurse consultant in the office. Nancy's been with us for multiple years. Many of you may know her. She also helps with food programs and different things like that through our office. But she has been integral these past couple of years, helping us through this whole COVID pandemic and working with programs and helping them to understand what they need to do. I am going to turn the microphone over to Nancy. She has some slides here to talk to you about some updates and some things, some supports and different ways that you as a provider can work through this pandemic. So Nancy, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and unmute and join us.
All right, I have done that. And if we can go to the next slide, please. And yes, just welcome everyone and thank you for what you do. And you'll have my email there if you need anything. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. All right, prevention strategies. These are the things we need to look at. These are the things we need to do. They are not individual, they work together. All right. Vaccination, I can't stress that enough. Please encourage it. It will be mandatory for Head Start employees beginning in January. We don't have the specifications on that yet. I know the feds are working on it, but it will be coming. Head Start employees are considered federal workers. Just want to let you know that if you're thinking about the the booster shots and the mix and match and all of that, the next slide will be one that you can take a look at. You should be able to get all your questions answered by that. Vaccination is safe before, during, and after pregnancy. Antibodies are shared with the infant before birth and through breast milk. And I just want to say, how important is this? Well, the hospitalization rate for older adults, people over 60, is 9%. You get COVID, 9% of us adults over 60 are going to be hospitalized. For pregnant women, that number jumps to 18%. That's a huge number. All right, so encourage those thinking about pregnancy to get vaccinated. All right, next up, we're going to talk about masks. What do masks do? They keep your germs to yourself. They work for more than just COVID, RSV, hand, foot, and mouth disease, influenza. Those are all spread by respiratory droplet. Masks can slow down the spread of germs that are spread by respiratory droplet.
Your children don't build up.
Yes, some of the viruses are tiny, and they can get through cloth, but they are also, don't forget, they're attached to fluids, they're attached to saliva, they're attached to mucus, and those things can't get through. So yes, the vast majority of those virus particles will be trapped by a mask. Okay, and don't forget to get that influenza vaccination. It's good for everybody over the age of 6, or over the age of 6 months. There we go. Physical distancing, 3 feet is good, 6 feet is better. If you have a large classroom, can you cohort those kids into 2 cohorts? Can you separate them such that teachers can see the whole room, but that kids are limited to using one side or the other? Then you empty the room when they're outside, maybe, wipe it down, switch. That way, if there's an exposure, only half the room is impacted.
So inappropriate for young children.
Of course, the group needs to remain consistent from week to week. It sounds like we've got somebody who's unmuted, so please mute yourself. Thank you. Testing. At-home tests are great for some purposes, but for childcare, we really want you to have documentation, especially if you're going to be applying for the COVID closure grants. So you would need a test at an approved location. Indiana Public Schools can participate in a Department of Health program, and these would be acceptable sites for testing as well. Ventilation is a big thing. Open those windows. That's an easy way to get fresh air. What moving air around fresh air does is it dilutes the amount of germ that's in the air. Okay. You are sure that you have filters placed in your HVAC systems that are MERV 13 or higher, if the system allows that. Portable HEPA filters can be used in rooms. Just watch your cords. Ionizing machines can be installed in HVAC systems, but I will caution you to avoid portable systems that have UV lights or any chemicals involved. Those are expensive, and they are not necessary and not recommended for use around children. Hand washing and respiratory etiquette, we know this, we live this, right? Washing your hands regularly helps keep you from getting sick. Do your best to keep sneezes and coughs from being directed anywhere that you can't control. Have a tissue. If you don't have a tissue, use your elbow. Use your hands as a last resort and then go straight to the sink. Stay home if you're sick. If you have symptoms that seem like COVID, go get tested. You may find out that you're not, but then you may find out that you are. All right. Do you know anybody who said they had a summer cold lately or this summer? Did they test? More than likely it was COVID. It's just so contagious. It's more contagious than measles. Measles is very contagious. So it's another reason to keep your distance. Even if you are just mildly ill, get tested. Stay away from others until you get that result back. When you're looking at contact tracing, isolation and quarantine, when you're doing contact tracing, remember to go back 48 hours from when a person exhibited symptoms, or if they didn't have symptoms, the date and time that their test was positive. Okay, not the day that they get the result, but the date and time that the test was taken. Anybody who spent 15 minutes within 6 feet of that person needs to watch for symptoms and quarantine if not vaccinated. Please mute. Somebody's got their speaker
The sound
on.
is coming from someone named Nancy.
Nancy is where the
Yes,
sound
that's
is coming
me.
from.
Yes, that's me. That's the speaker. There is.
We also have Tiandra Williams and someone under class that needs to mute. Nancy, I think you need to unmute again.
All right, there we go. Okay. I'll go back here just a second. Contact tracing, isolation, and quarantine. When you're contact tracing, remember to go back 48 hours from when a person exhibited symptoms, or if no symptoms, the date and time that their test was positive, not the day they get the result. All those people who spent 15 minutes within 6 feet of that person need to watch for symptoms and quarantine if they're not vaccinated. Those who are vaccinated need to mask and watch for symptoms, but they do not need to quarantine. Isolation is for those who are symptomatic, and they can return at least 10 days from the beginning of their symptoms when they have no fever for 24 hours and are feeling better. And cleaning is most important. Soap and water removes over 90% of dirt and germs. No chemicals involved. Kids can play in the soapy water. Kids can clean with soapy water. Utilize that. Take advantage of that. Sanitize only where you need to, food contact surfaces, and disinfect only where needed, things like bathrooms, diaper tables, and high-touch public-facing surfaces. So soap and water is your best friend in all these situations. All right, next slide, please. We can see the mixed dosing authorized for COVID-19 vaccine boosters. There is a link for that, or take a picture of it while you've got it up. Let's do a little screenshot. And it is on the State Department of Health webpage, the Indiana State Department of Health. If you go to their COVID page, and it is in the public updates. All right, next slide, please. This is the page, the direct links for our guidance. We have general coronavirus for Indiana. We have CDC for pregnancy. And actually, there's more information on vaccination and pregnancy. There's a wonderful new website up called mothertobaby.org. Again, that's mothertobaby.org. You can actually live chat with an expert if you have questions about vaccination. And the last link there is a link to the Indiana Department of Health COVID control measures. And that's what gives us our guidance in quarantine, isolation, contact tracing, and all that good stuff. Next slide, please. And this is our early care and education specific guidance in English and Spanish. And at the bottom, it's what to do if you have a positive case in both English and Spanish. And I think I have one more slide here. Yes. So Ask a Nurse monthly sessions. I do these monthly through Indiana Spark, and you register for them through iLead. You can also register for them through indianaspark.com. The next one will be November 4th. That's next Thursday at 1:30 p.m. I will be talking about the CDC's, I'm assuming what's going to be approval for vaccination for children 5 to 11. We'll talk about the mix and match stuff and anything else I might get by email in between. So thank you, Beth, for letting me blither on here for a few minutes.
We really appreciate that, Nancy. And I can't speak highly enough about contacting Nancy if you have questions or specific instances within your programs that you would just like to bounce an idea off of her or get some additional supports or ideas of things that you can do within your program. She is more than willing to work with you on a one-on-one basis and give you some great ideas. And these Ask a Nurse monthly sessions are extremely helpful. She has great topics that she covers every month. So if you have time and can get on with those, please make an effort to do so. So thanks again. We haven't ever had a chance to take a minute and introduce Nancy and the supports that she has for programs. So I wanted to do that today, especially in the middle of these times when there's so many questions going around about health and the best way to handle things.
Beth, one last, I just took a quick glance at the chat and somebody asked about reporting. And for those of you that are a part of the school corporation and you're in a school, you will report to the school data. All right. That is clarified in the IDOH document about contact tracing and reporting. So any pre-K programs that are a part of a school corporation will use their school nurse to report cases. Okay.
Thanks for that clarification, Nancy. Very helpful.
Is there any way we could go back to the last screen with all the websites? I wasn't able to get that.
We've put them in the chat also, so
Okay.
you can copy and paste out of the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so moving on, wanted to start off today with our On My Way Pre-K County project managers. These are the individuals that you all probably have the most contact with and interactions with. And we do have a couple of new faces. We want to welcome in Cindy Gold, who's taking over the Purple, Madison, Delaware, Randolph, Wayne, Rush, all that area. Don't have time to go through everybody. We welcome Cindy into our group, and please utilize these individuals as you are working through different things. We do have the website up there, the navigateonmywayprek.org is a site that we've had open for parents to contact directly with their project manager to ask questions or to get help in filling out their applications or getting the documents they need to complete their application. There is an other option on that page. So if you as a program are having a problem getting a hold of them via email or cell phone, which they're all very responsive, feel free to use that website or give that website to parents if they have questions that the project managers might be able to help them with. So we are very, very blessed to have a group of very involved and individuals who work their tails off to make sure that everyone is taken care of and that they are helping in each of their regions. So hats off to all of you. I know this enrollment cycle has been a little difficult, and they've all really worked hard. So I want to talk a little bit about enrollment and eligibility updates. These are our September numbers. With this being October 27th, we will be getting ready to update our statewide enrollment totals here very soon for the 1st of November, and that will include all of our October enrollments. This is listed on our website, onmywayprek.org. Underneath, there's a tab there for statewide enrollment and reporting. So you can always go there and check, and you can sort it by your county so that you can get an idea of where they are. The colors on the map denote the year that county started in On My Way. If you'll remember, we started out as a 5-county pilot with the yellow counties. Then we grew to 20 with the green, and in 2019, the entire state was eligible. So families are still enrolling on the online application through EEC, which is the picture down there at the bottom, if you've not seen that website. However, today is the last day for families to apply for On My Way Pre-K for the 2021-2022 school year. And effective November 7th of 2021, I'm sorry, that's a typo, not 2022, November 7th of 2021. Oops, let me go back. Any eligible 4-year-old enrolled in an approved On My Way program, so any of those 4-year-olds that you have in your programs that are funded through CCDF will be flipped over to On My Way Pre-K funding. And this really is a big advantage to the family in that if their CCDF was due to reauthorize during this year, it will be extended out to 6/4 of 2022. That's where I should have put the 22, so that they can complete the pre-K year. And we will be notifying families via text and email of these changes. We were just informed of this. We've been working with the secretary here at FSSA and the governor's office to kind of get some guidance as to this. So we were just this Monday morning let us know that this would be happening. So today is the first chance I had to share all of this with you. So please, if you have any questions or any concerns, again, those project managers are your best source of information, and we'll be happy to help you through that process. Now, and the best way for you to see those grants that were CCDF being flipped over to On My Way is in that Hoosier portal where your grants are all listed. Thanks, Sean. She just entered that website for us in the chat box. And the notification of the enrollment deadline will be going up. As I said, Laura, we just found out. So it's going up on our website. I've got those changes in to go on right away. So we'll be doing lots of communication out in these next few weeks. We also had some changes in our eligibility offices recently with Lake and LaPorte counties are now being serviced through the Geminis Corporation. St. Joseph, Elkhart, Allen is now under Bright Point. Delaware, Tippecanoe, and Vigo is now Children's Bureau, and Vanderburgh County is now Four Cs of Southern Indiana. So there have been a few eligibility office changes here lately. So Carrie and her team have been working diligently to work with families and working through the process and making sure everybody's getting their vouchers completed and ready to go for this year. So big hats off to all of them and all of our eligibility office folks too. They've been working very hard throughout this enrollment process. Again, that Hoosier Child Care portal is your best source of information for your grants and your payments. There are frequently asked questions and how-to guides on the front page of that. And any important notices will be posted here too as we do it. So please use that. And if you need help with that, again, your project manager is a really good source of information for that. Or our policy consultants can also help you through that. So just let us know and we'll get you connected to the right person. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your requirements for this year. As in your provider agreement that was signed, you do adhere to all applicable laws, rules, and policies. So if for at any time you fall below a level 3 or level 4 in paths to quality, things like that, those are things that we need to make sure don't happen during the pre-K year, or those children will be asked to find a different provider that is eligible. So please, again, if you have issues or concerns or problems, talk with your licensing consultant or your paths to quality specialist or your project manager, and be proactive rather than reactive. You are required also to talk accurate attendance requirements. Please make sure you're using the Hoosier Child Care website. The families are swiping their cards and doing attendance, or it's being entered in electronically through the website, and assuring that the child attends 85% of days offered. This has been a requirement of our program from the get-go. It's a little tricky with COVID. And so we kind of get around that by saying of the days offered. So the days you are open, is that child there 85% of those days? And again, this is not a reason to kick a child out or to say that they're not eligible anymore, but rather kind of a red flag for what kind of supports might that family need to make sure that their child is there 85% of days offered. We all know the more the child is there, the more dosage they're getting, the more they are interacting with other children, is a better experience for everyone involved. And so please alert your project manager if you see a family that is not attending on a regular basis. Again, we know there are quarantines and COVID issues and RSV going around, all kinds of things happening. So again, please just make sure that you are entering attendance. We have from the very get-go also said that we cannot pay for virtual days. So if you do computer days or days where the children stay home and work on computers instead, those are not considered attendance days that can be reimbursed with On My Way Pre-K. And if a family does have to quarantine or has a positive COVID case within their family, they have been given additional personal days to use in case of COVID closure. Please remember, personal days are a family's responsibility. They are the ones who choose whether they use them or not you as a program. And then lastly, it is required that you let us know within 5 business days if a child is withdrawing. And again, we would really, really like for everyone to be proactive in this rather than reactive. If you're having issues with a child, behavior-wise or attendance-wise or for whatever reason, let that project manager know ahead of time so we can work with that family and provide them with some supports that can maybe help them get through their rough time or work through something that is keeping them from attending or getting the child the help that they need if it's a behavioral issue. Another requirement of On My Way Pre-K is family engagement. And these are the requirements as listed in the provider agreement. You are to offer engagement activities, maintain records, and complete the family engagement toolkit self-assessment that is available. And as you remember, we talked, I think last spring, when we talked a little bit about family engagement and for this year, we were asking everyone to set a goal of one of the indicators that your program is really going to work to improve at least one level towards excelling. There is, as you know, in the toolkit, there are 4 different levels. Actually, there's 5. You can have not started, entering, emerging, progressing, and excelling. So we want to have you pick an area that maybe you want to work. Maybe you were entering last year and you want to work towards emerging this year. And we do ask that the self-assessment is completed by December 31st. The best way to do that is through iLead. It's an online training. Anyone can complete it online. It doesn't have to be you as the director. It can be your pre-K teacher. It can be some pre-K assistant, anybody that works with those children. It just has to be, if it's been less than 12 months since you did it last year online, someone else will have to do it because iLead won't let you do it unless it's been at least 12 months since you completed that online training. The online training pretty much just walks you through the toolkit and helps you complete it as you go. Then your scores are all tallied electronically and kept very easily. So you don't have to worry about turning anything in or doing anything else. So we really encourage everyone to do it that way. Again, if you have questions about that, your project manager is your best friend to help you through that process. When you filled out your provider agreements this year, You also received this goal sheet for you to pick one of those goals that maybe you're going to work on. We would just ask that you keep this on file with your toolkit or your information about family engagement within your program. And then if your project manager is on site, they may ask you to see that so that they're aware of what you're working on and how they can assist you with that. So you don't have to turn it in or send it to anybody, just keep it on site and we will touch base with that if we are on site with you. We do have a couple of opportunities I wanted to discuss with you to maybe help you with some ideas of things that you could do for family engagement. November 4th, coming up here in just a week or so, we are going to have a virtual kindergarten transition to kindergarten summit. This is a joint effort between Head Start, the Indiana Department of Education, and our office, the OECOSL, and just talking about some insights and best practice into transition practices that you could utilize in your program this year. The session will be recorded in case you're unable to attend on that day during those times. And there is the link there to register for that. And within the Family Engagement Toolkit, these are the areas that you could, be working on by attending that summit. So there's supporting transitions, and then there's assessing and improving transition practices. And then there's also an opportunity in family engagement if you are aware of the Learn the Signs Act Early through the CDC. These are some wonderful tools that are available both for families and for you as a program on child development and helping you to help families understand what their child should be doing at a certain age. Again, there's the link to the information about those. And within the family engagement toolkit, there are 3 different areas that talk about communicating information about child development assessments, and connecting families with information and resources. There's a wonderful downloadable tracker app for phones, for iPhones. We know many of our families applied using their phone. So this is just another great tool that we can share with families. And it really helps answer a lot of questions for families about, is this something my child should be doing or shouldn't be doing, that kind of thing. Again, there are there are even some lesson plans and different things on that website. So let me go back there really quick. The Learn the Signs Act Early. If you just Google that, even you can get to this website very easily. If you haven't been there, please visit it and look through the different materials that are available. There are things you can print out and share with families. So lots of really good resources for you, and a really easy way to work on family engagement if that's an area where you would like to gain some additional knowledge this year. So those are just a couple of ideas for the Family Engagement Toolkit. There's many, many more, but just wanted to share those 2 with you today. I do see some questions coming up in the mailbox. And I think Sean and Nicole have been manning this for me, so I think they've been answering most everybody. Yes, if you still need a goal sheet, you just get with your project manager. They will be more than happy to get that to you. You will get a certificate when you finish the iLead training for family engagement, so it is great. For that, the virtual summit, I don't believe we are doing training certificates for that, but I will check with Tanya in our office to see if that's a possibility. And yes, Alicia, we are recording this for further review. It will be posted on our website. The slides will be made available upon request. The recording will be posted on the website. Okay. And then the next requirement that we're going to talk about is the match requirement. This is part of legislation. that requires a monetary match for each On My Way pre-K grant. At least 5%, but not more than 50% of the state-funded tuition for children must be paid from these sources. The only funds they really can't be paid from is your On My Way pre-K funds. So that's a little caveat in there for that. We do have options for the payment of those. If you are located in a county that does not offer payment of match by a county entity, we would encourage you to contact your project manager and see if there is an entity that you may be able to work with to pay the match. These are not required up front. They're calculated at the end of the pre-K year on the exact state dollar amount paid for each child. And we do allow you to make monthly payments through your CCDF account. Even though a portion of those funds are On My Way funds, they aren't all On My Way funds. So we are able to set that up for you to make payments out of your account. So we really totally wait till the end of the year so that we're making sure we're very accurate about the amount that's due for that match. It's a very small amount when you look at each one. And that way, if a child moves out in the middle of the school year or any of that changes, then you're only charged for the actual days that the child was there. These are some of the match counties are 20 pilot counties, and then some additional counties have been added in. Most recently, United Way of Central Indiana is covering the counties that they serve. Wabash United Way is serving counties around Vigo County. Greene County Foundation is supporting grants within their county, and Owen County Community Foundation is supporting their community grants. Crossroads United Way, Noble and LaGrange is also added with Elkhart. And Metro United Way, Clark County, if you are interested, you must apply to Metro United Way for those funds. And then Posey County is also covered through the 4Cs Roundtable, and they are also doing, I just got an email last week, they're doing some grants in Gibson County. So again, the takeaway from this is there are entities out there that we can connect you with. So please contact your project manager if you're interested, and we will make sure to connect you with those people. So now I just want to spend, I know many of you have questions about the KRI, our new kindergarten readiness indicator that's required with On My Way pre-K. And really just want to make sure that everyone is totally clear that this is not a replacement for iStar KR, the assessment that we used to use and was required through legislation. The legislation has changed, and it is the assessment that is adopted through the Department of Ed. And this KRI was adopted in 2019. We didn't actually use it in 2019 because, if you'll remember correctly, all assessments were done away with in 2019 with COVID. We did start the KRI last year and learned a lot through that process. A lot of things worked, a lot of things didn't work. But we have worked, I have been working since we finished last year until just actually had an email yesterday where we're still working with NORIC to get things situated for this year and making sure that it's a well-oiled machine and moving much easier than it did for everyone last year. This KRI is only used in the spring each year. It is not something that assesses a child throughout the pre-K year. We would hope that you're still using the curriculum assessment that goes along with the curriculum that you're using to show child's progress throughout the pre-K year. The goal of this KRI is just to assess their oral language literacy and math skills before kindergarten entry. So it is really just a kindergarten entry indicator. Last year's KRI, we had 1,608 children that were able to be matched, that were given the KRI and were in an On My Way pre-K program. We matched 315 programs, and even our online Waterford program participated and gave their students this KRI also. We had 55 counties that were represented, and we're not sure how this happened, but of those 1,608 children, we had a total 50-50 male-female split. So we had 804 male students and 804 female students that were assessed. So we are still working with NORIC to get the data from last year and showing, again, this is aggregate data. You're not going to get anything back saying that Joey scored X on the KRI to share with families. It's more a statewide, possibly countywide. We haven't even gotten that. We haven't drilled down that far yet to see, but it's really more as a whole, are children that attend On My Way pre-K ready for kindergarten is the question that it's answering. So many of you will know, recognize that did it last year, the front cover of the KRI manual there in the lower left-hand corner. This year, NORIC are the entity that put together at the University of Chicago this KRI, is going to be handling all training and all certification. And those are all going to be offered via web-based. So there will not be person-to-person classes that you will have to go to get your training and certification. There will not be a video Zoom meeting with anyone for certification. All of the training will be online to be done when you choose to do it within the dates, and we'll talk about those dates in just a minute. But it should alleviate a lot of who's completed it, who hasn't, who needs certification, who has a Zoom appointment at what time with who, and all of that. So I'm very, very excited that we were able to move it this direction. If you completed the training last year in the certification, there will be a refresher course for you. You will not have to take the training all over again. It's a shorter, just kind of making sure that you remember all the little pieces that need to be completed for that. If you received your materials last year, you will use those same materials. So we've not updated the manual in any way or changed any of the assessment. We want to keep it as much the same so that we can compare years. And so you'll use those same materials again. And anybody that did not receive materials last year, who maybe didn't have children enrolled, will receive new materials this year. And we will make sure that the project managers are going to help us deliver those to programs. So if you did it last year, please make sure that you are locating those materials that were used. There should be a manual that has the cover like there in the lower left-hand corner. You should have a penguin, a stuffed penguin, some fish, and some blue, red, yellow, and green chips to use as part of along with, there's, I think, cards that have dots on them and hands that have different number of fingers. If you have lost materials, we are still working through that process. Once we get through this completing enrollment and figuring out where children are and how many programs we have and who needs kits, we will determine what happens for people who are missing materials. Our goal will be to get those new programs who have never received a kit, their materials first. And then if we have additional materials left over, we'll work with programs that may need to replace them. Please do not go out and try to purchase something that if you're missing something. We should have this wrapped up early December so that we know we'll have plenty of time to get materials ordered and get materials out to you if we need to. So November, December is when I need to send a list of who in the program will be doing the assessment and the children that will be assessed. So those programs that will be pulled again once we're finished with enrollment and we know where children are and what programs are participating. And then February and March dates are when we'll do the trainings and the certifications. And then starting April, May, we'll be looking at administering that KRI to the On My Way children in your program. We're trying really hard to get it finished up before Memorial Day weekend, when programs are sometimes ending. So November, December, when we send that email, we will be sending you an email to collect who at your site will be administering the KRI and will need training. We will be collecting their first name, their last name, their email. And please remember, everyone has to have a separate email. You can't give everyone the email from your site. The email has to be separate. What role they play, are they the teacher, the director, the administrator, the name of their supervisor, the program name as it's listed on your license. We had a lot of trouble matching people with the correct program last year because everybody put down strange names. The program county, and then we'll also be sharing the program address with them. So please watch your email for that. There will be a deadline to get that information to me so I can get it to Norick and they can get it loaded in the system to start enrolling people in the training and certification. Please remember, this is not the KRI is only for your On My Way pre-K classroom. You may use the KRI with non-On My Way funded children. So if you have parent paid children or get CCDF children that apply after, today in that classroom, you can still use the KRI with them. That's fine. But please make sure that it's the same teacher in the same classroom that your On My Way students are in. That may be more than one in some programs, and that's okay. But depending on how many you actually have enrolled in your site, please be cognizant of us trying to get everyone trained and certified. And this is certainly not one of those trainings where you need to send your entire staff list to me. Usually one person in a backup or a couple, if you have more than one On My Way classroom, each of the classrooms, it's always good to have a backup person because we all know, had many people, say, well, my pre-K teacher isn't even here anymore. And I need to, make sure that I get this done. So we want to make sure that we get enough people trained so that when it comes time to actually do the assessment, the training won't be available anymore. You'll need to make sure that someone in your program is ready to go. And I just see a question in the mailbox. If we were trained last year, do we need to go through the training again? Yes, as I noted before, there will be a refresher course for you. So, and that is required. So once the training opens, you'll receive an email invitation to join Rise Learning. So please watch. It won't come from OECOSL. It won't come from me. It will come from Rise Learning. And so it's time to start training. And you need to accept that invite. Again, we're going to give some dates here in a couple of screens. You need to start watching for these emails and be sure to check your spam folder if you don't see it. We will send, reminders out to everybody. Hey, make sure you sign up for your training and make sure that, we get that going. But if it's sitting there in your spam folder, then you won't see it. And then once you actually accept the invitation, you'll set up your username and password. It's your email address and then your password. We will not be sending passwords this year. You will be setting up your own password so that you can remember it. And then you'll be able to sign in. And then at the bottom there, once you sign in, it shows your learning, my learning, and what's in progress and what's been completed. And again, you will be able to show whether you did the kindergarten readiness administrator training or the refresher course. So whether you did the full training or whether you were trained last year and you completed the refresher course. There will also be the certifications here. I have, they're still finalizing those and I haven't seen those yet, but I have done both of these trainings and they are very self-sufficient. There are a lot of really good information in there. And we want to make sure that you're taking your time in these. The time that you take, as you can see, 1 hour, 9 minutes, 57 minutes. It tells us how long it took you to take it. So if you're just clicking through the screen and not reading it, there's quizzes as you go along that you have to pass before you can continue. So it really is a pretty good asynchronous training for you to complete and gives us validity in what we're doing and making sure that people are administering this KRI correctly. So please take your time when you're doing these trainings. Okay, so here are the really important dates that we need to look at. We will be opening up the training and refresher courses on February 21st, and those will be open for about a month until March 20th. So you'll have all of that time to complete your training or refresher course, whichever one you are enrolled in. And that'll be on your portal when you sign in. Then there will be 1 week of practice where you can practice creating test students and administering a KRI on an online device. So on your phone or tablet or computer. And just 1 week will give you to practice those because we really want the practice to come right before you do your certification. So your certification courses will open then on March 28th, and you will have until April 17th to finish up that certification course. Now, please remember with your training and refresher course, if you don't pass it the first time, you still have to get it done by March 20th. Okay. So if you wait until March 20th to do it, you're pushing yourself a little bit to get it completed and passed. Same with the certification course. If you don't pass it the first time, you only have from March 28th to April 17th to get that done. So you've only got those 3 weeks in there to complete that certification. We will begin, you may begin administering the KRI on April 18th. And you have a full 6 weeks to complete the KRI for your students. We wanted to give a little buffer in there. Hopefully by April and May, we're not dealing with COVID as much and quarantining, but we did give a real buffer in there in case students were out for a couple of weeks on quarantine and you weren't able to assess them. If there are any circumstances, again, it's good to start early just in case that happens. Or, then if the student is out at the beginning of that KRI administration period, then you can pick them up at the end of it after they've had their 2-week quarantine. So don't, try not to wait until 5/26 to do all of your assessments is the idea there. So hopefully we've given everyone as much time as possible to get these things done. Again, it's asynchronous. It's at your leisure. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there shouldn't be issues with trying to get them done. So again, please just remember to complete all trainings and certifications that are sent to your email by the requested dates. Take your time when you're doing them, reading through the materials. There's videos giving lots and lots of really good hands-on information. And we're requesting that everyone name their test student. First name test, last name student. Please don't use your own children's names. Please don't use your neighbors' names. We had a hard time filtering out who were the test students from our data this year. So all test students and practice students need to be named test student. And you can have multiple test student. You don't need test student 1, test student 2. You don't need to do it that way. You can have multiple people with the same name in your practice. So please remember that. And we'll send out reminders about that too. Just a couple of really quick new opportunities coming your way. There's a really good play leadership information or training available at no cost through Indiana Department of Health and Playworks. The information is here about it. There's a couple of dates in November. You have to commit to this 12 to 5 on these 2 dates, either in November or January, but you will receive a clock hours certificate documenting attendance. It is at no cost. And it is a virtual workshop that teaches proven strategies to foster engagement, prevent and redirect challenging behavior, develop social emotional skills, and enhance physical activities. All right. We are out of time, folks, and need to get off because someone else is using our Zoom today. I thank you so much for your time, and we will get this recording up online. Again, if you would like a copy of the slides, please request that from your project manager. They will have a copy to send to you. And thanks so much for your time today.